5 years ago, he asked us to join a simple procedural case to overturn property in California. He promised us that our names would be used, and it would be kind of fun, like watching a movie. And of course, we were fine that there were changes along the way. Really, who doesn't have time for a 3-week trial and relish the possibility of watching your, at times, gut-wrenching, heartfelt personal testimony broadcast on YouTube? We love you, Chad, and we wish you were here. Thank you. Truly, though, what an amazing adventure we had. We were honored and humbled by the experience. We learned so much about our collective struggle and ourselves. We came out stronger for it and even more committed to righting a terrible wrong, not only in California, but in the entire country. We learned something about justice and our justices too. Judge Von Walker examined in our trial the history of marriage and the political, social, and economic impacts of discrimination. He changed history for all of us with his ruling in our favor. As he so accurately stated, the evidence shows Proposition 8 does nothing more than enshrine in the California Constitution the notion that opposite-sex couples are superior to same-sex couples. During our Supreme Court arguments, Justice Kennedy called on his colleagues to consider that there is an immediate legal injury, and that is the voice of these children, he said. There are some 40,000 children in California that live with same-sex parents, and they want their parents to have full recognition and full legal status. The voice of those children is important in this case, don't you think? We certainly did learn so much about how far we have come as a movement from those justices and about the struggle for LGBT equality and marriage equality. We learned about a couple in Minnesota that tried and failed to get a marriage license for the very first time in 1971. About a successful Hawaii Supreme Court case in 1993 that allowed activists there to dream of truly legal marriage equality, but that also inspired many in Congress to pass the Defense of Marriage Act. And finally, about a case called Goodrich in Massachusetts that almost exactly a decade ago led to the first gay and lesbian couples in America to finally and legally get married. And we learned so importantly about the power of leadership in social change as HRC continues to provide as we all work together for marriage equality in all states. To all of you, my better half, my bossy half, and the love of my life. The court knows her as Carrie, but you can call her Chris.
Some of you may think that the bravest decision Chad Griffin ever made was to challenge the voters of California by suing the governor and the attorney general in federal court, but really, it was deciding to let Sandy speak to the American public about why she should have the right to marry me and why Proposition 8 was so harmful to everyone in California. As you can see, Sandy's happy to share her opinions, and it's not always what one might want in a transcript in the Library of Congress. Almost 5 years ago, we prepared for the first and hopefully last trial we will ever be a part of. That trial changed our lives forever. a trial where I shared my experience of growing up in California, gay, in a very conservative part known as the Central Valley, and how harmful feeling less than was to me. I also testified about the optimal development of all children and how transformational simply being accepted is in all of our lives. The power of choice is life-changing. The importance of each of us having the right to reach our full potential is undeniably a fundamental right for individuals, couples, and families. Speaking from very recent firsthand experience, living in a state that supports equality enhances everyone's lives. In Illinois, you are on the cusp of equality after a long, hard-fought battle. Congratulations. Life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness are now available to more, but not all couples. We have more work to bring marriage to 36 other states, or is it 35 now, or 34? States where children growing up right now should not only feel safe, they should feel they are the architect of their own future. Marriage equality tells all children they can build the life they choose. We've come so far, but we can't forget about where it all began. Sandy talked a little bit about a case 10 years ago in Massachusetts that set all of us on this journey together. After the Massachusetts Supreme Court ruled that marriages would begin, LGBT advocates knew that the backlash would be fierce. In order to defend that ruling against all comers, Mass Equality, a statewide LGBT organization, hired its first ever full-time staffer, a man named Marty Rouse. Marty won that fight to preserve our families in Massachusetts. And for the first time, marriage was truly defended in this country. And since that victory, for the better part of 10 years, Marty has brought that same fighting spirit to the rest of the country as National Field Director of HRC. He's led us to victory time and time again, for marriage equality, from Maine to Hawaii, for inclusive non-discrimination laws from Delaware to the heart of Texas and San Antonio, and for a fully inclusive agenda at the national level. Simply put, we all know the vision, but Marty and his tireless team know how to achieve it. Let's take a look at HRC's work.